inner quiet space. If you've ever looked at yourself and wondered, why can't I just get it together? You're not alone. And more importantly, you're not broken. This video is part of the You Are Not Broken series, a space where we gently challenge the stories we've internalized about being lazy, inconsistent, too emotional, or not enough. Through the lens of psychology and neuroscience, we'll explore what's actually going on when you shut down, lose motivation, or feel stuck. Because often what we interpret as personal failure is simply a sign of emotional exhaustion, nervous system overload, or shame patterns rooted in early conditioning. Here at Inner Quiet Space, we believe healing begins with understanding, not force, not fixing, just gentle, science-backed reflection. In today's reflection, we'll focus on one of the most painful labels we carry. I'm lazy. But what if laziness isn't a flaw at all? What if it's a sign that your system is doing its best to protect you? Let's begin there. Let's begin with a word that carries a heavy weight: lazy. It's a label we use quickly, on ourselves, on others. It shows up when we skip tasks, lie in bed too long, or can't find the will to start something. But here's the truth. Laziness is not a personality trait. It's not a moral failure. And it's almost never the real problem. In psychology, we understand behavior as a form of communication. When you avoid action, it isn't always about willpower. It's about your system sending a signal of fatigue, disconnection, or overwhelm. Yet, we live in a world that rewards constant productivity. The moment we pause, we feel guilty. The moment we slow down, we assume something must be wrong with us. But here's the science. What we call laziness often arises when the nervous system is overstimulated and there's no safe outlet for that stress. Your body isn't failing, it's adapting. So instead of asking, why am I so lazy? Try asking, what does my system need right now? This question is softer, smarter, and it opens the door to real healing. What if what you're calling laziness is actually burnout? Burnout doesn't always look like someone collapsing at their desk or crying in the shower. Sometimes it looks like numbness, like scrolling endlessly, like knowing you have things to do, but feeling nothing inside when you try to start. In the language of the nervous system, this isn't laziness. It's something called the freeze response. The freeze response is one of the body's built-in survival modes, alongside fight and flight. When your brain senses threat, but you can't run or fight, you shut down. This shutdown isn't a failure, it's a strategy. You might feel disconnected from your body, unable to make simple decisions, emotionally flat, paralyzed by even small tasks. What's happening isn't weakness, it's protection. Your nervous system has gone into conservation mode. It's trying to preserve what little energy you have. It's asking you to stop, not because you're incapable, but because you've reached your edge. Sometimes it's not emotional burnout or trauma that shuts us down. Sometimes it's simply this: too many choices. Your brain wasn't built to make hundreds of decisions a day, and yet that's exactly what we ask of it. Every hour, every moment, from what to wear, to how to respond to a message, to whether we're doing enough in life. The mental tabs stay open constantly. This is called decision fatigue. It's a real, measurable mental state where your ability to choose starts to deteriorate after extended decision making. What does this look like in real life? Feeling foggy even when nothing major is wrong. Avoiding choices, even simple ones. Choosing nothing at all, not because you don't care, but because you can't care right now. It's not laziness, it's cognitive overload. And when decision fatigue combines with emotional stress or unresolved pressure, your mind goes into survival mode. You freeze, you shut down, you disengage. So if you're sitting there thinking, I should do something, anything, but nothing happens, it's not because you lack discipline, it's because your brain is asking for mercy. Let's talk about something quieter than fear, but just as powerful: shame. Shame is the voice that whispers, you should be doing more. You're wasting time. You don't deserve rest until you've earned it. It's not always loud. Sometimes it sounds like your own voice, so familiar you stop questioning it. Psychologically, shame is deeply linked to shutdown. When we feel unworthy, we withdraw. We hide. We stop trying, not because we're lazy, but because shame convinces us there's no point. Here's what research tells us. Shame doesn't create motivation. It creates paralysis. According to Dr. Brené Brown, shame thrives in silence and secrecy. It disconnects us from others and from ourselves. It turns everyday struggles into self-blame. Instead of saying, this is hard, we say, I'm weak. Instead of asking for help, we hide our fatigue and call ourselves failures. But here's the truth. You don't have to earn the right to rest. You don't have to perform to deserve compassion. You don't have to be fixed to be cared for. You are allowed to show up imperfect and still be enough. So, if you're not lazy, if you're navigating burnout, nervous system shutdown, decision fatigue, and shame, then what do you actually need? Not a productivity hack, not a motivational quote, not a just push through it speech. You need permission. You need space. You need softness. You need someone not to fix you, but to say, I see how hard this has been, and it makes sense. Because healing doesn't happen through pressure. It begins with understanding. The truth is, your nervous system responds to felt safety, not to logic. So instead of more expectations, your body is craving signals of care, of gentleness. Start with one breath, not deep, not forced, just honest. Drink a glass of water, not because you should, but because you deserve to be nourished. Put your hand on your heart, not as a cliche, but as a reminder. I'm here. The These tiny gestures aren't meaningless. They're interventions, interruptions to the pattern of self-neglect. You don't need a massive breakthrough. You just need a moment of connection with yourself. In behavioral psychology, there's a concept called tiny wins. It means that small, achievable actions done consistently create lasting change. Why? Because every time you complete a task, no matter how small, your brain releases dopamine. That's the neurotransmitter associated with motivation, reward, and forward movement. You don't need to finish a big project to trigger it. You just need to complete something, anything. Make your bed. Brush your teeth. Send that one message. Put your shoes by the door. Each of these actions is a signal to your brain. I'm capable. I'm engaged. I'm choosing. Over time, these signals stack. They create momentum, not from pressure, but from self-trust. You're not building a life from heroic effort. You're building it from gentle repetition, from quiet, intentional acts that no one else sees, but your nervous system remembers. This is the science behind soft change. Tiny wins aren't childish. They're strategic. They bypass resistance, rebuild agency, and restore dignity in the smallest ways. And when your world feels overwhelming, that smallness, that's what keeps you moving. Let's pause here. You've been told directly or indirectly that something's wrong with you. That if you were stronger, more disciplined, more normal, you'd have it all together by now. But here's the truth. You are not broken. You may be tired. You may be grieving. You may be carrying stories, pain, and pressure that were never yours to begin with. But none of that makes you defective. It makes you human. You are responding beautifully, intelligently to a world that demands too much, too fast, too often. You're adapting. You're surviving. You're doing your best with the tools you've had. And that deserves acknowledgement, not shame. Some days, the bravest thing you can do is pause. Not to quit, but to breathe. To remember that healing doesn't ask for perfection, just presence. You don't need to be fixed. You need space to feel safe again, to trust your rhythm, to come home to yourself. And that begins here. If you've made it to this point, thank you. It means you gave yourself this time, this breath, this moment to slow down and reflect. Today we explored what often hides behind the word lazy, burnout, nervous system overload, decision fatigue, and shame. And we reminded ourselves that healing begins not with force, but with understanding and softness. If this reflection resonated with you, consider subscribing to Inner Quiet Space. This is a place for calm, science-backed reminders that you are not broken and that you're never alone in your healing. In upcoming videos, we'll continue this journey. We'll look deeper into how perfectionism disguises itself as productivity and how rest in a world that rewards performance becomes an act of rebellion. Until then, be gentle with yourself. Let this be enough for today. Thank you for being here.